best.
Oh yes, a wonderful good morning once again, and thank you for keeping it touch of Uganda Family TV. It is now time for us to go into issues at hand. Welcome back from Good Morning Family. I hope it was wonderful there. Yes, Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe is what supports us here in this show, and the numbers are just down there below the screen. You can want to contact them for any service in regards to the hotels. So please, they are the best in that game. You want to reach out to them, and of course have wonderful services offered to you. Well, today is a great one. We are going to be tackling an issue that has affected very many in society, and we are going to be talking about breaking the cycle of gender-based violence here in Uganda. And together with me here is Immaculate Owomugisha. Yes, and of course she is from UGANET, and she is going to be telling us much about herself. A very good morning to you, Immaculate.
Yes, thank you very much. Like you said, I'm Immaculate Owomugisha. I formerly worked at UGANET. I think for the last most part of my career life I was at UGANET, and currently I'm at Center for Women Justice Uganda, where I lead the team there. Thank you. Okay,
that's wonderful. It's a pleasure having you here.
It's a pleasure.
So just like I've mentioned, we're going to be tackling breaking the cycle of gender-based violence. And speaking of that, my first question is, what is the state of gender-based violence like in Uganda currently? Are there some statistics, or what is it like in Uganda now?
Yes, so gender-based violence is actually a very worrying vice. I must say it is an epidemic that we don't pay so much attention to it. If you look at the statistics, even the UFIA statistics, our National Bureau of Statistics report, it shows that one out of the 3 women experience violence in our homes, in our society. And when you look at the police annual crime report, the recent one of 2023, it shows that they registered around 15,000 cases of gender-based violence, and out of those 15,000 cases, around 10,000 are violence that is being perpetuated or put on women. So mostly showing that women are the majority people that are suffering from violence. And when you dig deeper, you will find that women, girls, again, when because violence happens in different ways. We have what we call physical violence, sexual violence, emotional violence, and what we call economic violence. Most of the cases at police, you find there are physical violence and sexual violence. And in sexual violence, we are looking at cases of rape, cases of defilement. Then physical is where we have murder, beating, and all that assaults that a person puts on someone's body. So it is a big challenge for the country. At the same time, it affects the economic point of the country. We know how this deeply digs into the budget of the country. So yeah, it is a worrying situation that we should continuously speak about.
Okay, let's talk about why basically the women mostly. Is it because they are soft naturally? Why is it still that big on women?
Yeah, so why women? I think it goes back to our society, our culture, and the community that we live in, and who holds what we call the power, who has the big say in the community. And from way back, how society has raised us, we find that women are placed in a position where you don't have much control, where you cannot have a voice, and because of that, we are always taken advantage of. So, and then culture also places us in a place that puts women maybe at the floor. We are always given the down seat, and this down seat takes away a certain power of a woman. So for me, the whole positioning of a woman in the society, the issue of who controls what, who has power in terms of controlling resources, in terms of decisions, in terms of making choices for a woman or for all of us in the society. It is never a woman. In most cases, it is a man that has this power to make a decision. And that greatly contributes to the actions and the violence that is perpetuated on women.
Okay. And I understand that the country, maybe if I can be specific, the government has tried much to empower women. Is it enough or is it not yet enough?
I must say it's not enough. We appreciate all the initiatives the government has put in place, from giving us a ministry to making sure there is equitable resource, including these different programs that target specifically women, having a family protection unit at police. These are great achievements for us as women. But it is not enough, because women are continuing to suffer. We have laws and policies that are saying that if no woman should be face any form of violence, right from our constitution to the specific laws where if someone commits violence is supposed to be arrested, the Penal Code Act, the Domestic Violence Act, which is specific on the domestic violence, Children's Act, all these laws are in place. Very good laws. But why do we still continue to see women face violence? It's because I think for me the laws are good, they're in books, but we are not having enough support in implementation. We need to see that every time a woman reports a case, let it be even at LC or at police, there is enough support to make sure that this woman, one, is protected, is able, supported to make sure that she goes and accesses justice in different sectors, from police to health, if it is a rape case or a defilement case at health center, then how are those witnesses, what we call expert witnesses, be supported also to come to court and provide evidence. So one thing to say that women have been empowered. Women, in fact, what I've heard of recent is that the boy child is suffering because the girl child is very empowered, and there is this whole worry of that the women will no longer have boys to marry, or the boys will not have women to marry in future. But I think for me it's wrong. We are not leaving the men behind. We are not leaving the boy child behind. We are saying let's be put at the same footing. Let's all of us be empowered, because if we have policies that are protecting women, then it means that the women are also equally going to protect the men, because this journey is a two in one. You move together. So for me, let the implementation of the policies be intentional. Let's not blame that we are empowering women, we've given women so much, but rather let's support women to closely work with the men. If we want happy families, if we want to end the violence against women and girls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the impact of culture.
Yes.
On women, majorly bringing about gender-based violence.
So culture, it's good culture, we respect it. We are all born and embedded, and we've been groomed by different culture, and culture is society, how society takes things. When we say culture, it looks so abstract, but it is us, it is me and you. How do we relate? How do we do things? We can't now continue to blame that things used to be done like this. In the past, our grandparents, our parents used to do things like this. No, it should be me and you today. Where we are, what culture are we impacting on our children? What are we telling our children home? What are we telling our partners? So culture has a great impact. If we continue to tell, I've seen on different social media where some of celebrated men come up and say, no, women of today are not doing their jobs, they should keep in the kitchen, they should be serving, they should be taking you. It was trending somewhere, and I was like, look, you wake up, you go to work. I wake up and go to work. We bring the resources and put on the table and share for the family. So it should be the culture that if we are all working, if we are all coming back to the same house, and we have these children we need to take care of, then our culture should be let's support one another. Not saying for you, you're tired more than me, let me go and sleep, and you, woman, serve food, bring for me, make sure water is put in the bathroom. The way our parents used to do it, I used to see my mother do that, making sure that he carries water for my father, takes it in the bathroom. Yes, because maybe that time the man was doing much more than, and a woman would be home taking care of the family. But now we are all working. You hold the panga. If we take it away from the city and we take it to the village, a man is holding the panga, the woman is holding the hoe. We are all digging. We've come back home. Let us support one another. Things have totally changed. So the culture we create, the culture we impact and pass on to our children determines on how we behave in future. Okay. So I think for me now that in 2024, where we are raising what we call Gen Zs, things must be done differently.
Yes,
to create a culture that supports one another, a culture of cordial relationship, a culture of mutual respect and support. Yeah.
Wow. Let's talk about also the kinds of marriages that happen mostly in the rural setting, where culture is still impactful so much. You find a young child is being subjected to marriage, like because they have an arrangement as parents, the child can go on and go in for marriage. How is that? Because I understand in the long run, these people will not tally up so much, and that is how you'll hear the child has been beaten or things like that. What message do you send to such communities? Okay.
So one thing that we need to appreciate as a country and as parents, that child marriage is illegal in Uganda. The Penal Code Act, the Constitution of Uganda is very clear that child marriage is illegal, and should you be caught facilitating child marriage, you'll be arrested and taken to police or prison.
Yes.
So that is the first message that I want to strongly condemn, that let us not facilitate or force our young children into marriage. One, it has a terrible impact on this girl child. And two, we've seen most of them die because their body is not ready for marriage. And you're cutting someone's future. If we see how the trends, even of some of the reports show that if a woman has been educated, at least you cut some high chances of violence. Education contributes to how you behave in society. So you're protecting this young girl by giving her a different lifestyle if you take this child through school life than taking this child to marriage. So for me, child marriage is illegal. And secondly, the cultures that are still practicing this. I think for me now, I can't even call it a culture, because it is at individual level, at family level. A family will just wake up and say, oh, this girl is ready, we don't have school fees, let's take this girl let's find a man, an old man, to marry him. That is wrong. And families that are doing that, communities need to speak out. If you hear your neighbor is marrying a young child, and the young child, we are talking about girl below 18 years, but we also know that even above 18, 20, 24, they are not yet ready. Support girls to go to school. If you hear anyone out there facilitating a marriage of a young girl, please rush and report to your neighbor, to the religious leaders, to LCs, to police. We have all these different levels of leadership at community. So you can't say that I'm going to fold my hands and look on because the chinkwatako. It's not about me. No, today it will be in someone's family, tomorrow it comes back to you. And I've been saying this even on domestic violence cases. If we see the murder, was it yesterday or on Monday, we saw reports are running, the woman's head was cut off. Sure. But people are quickly to take these short clips for TikTok, for our social media, but they are not quick to run and report. You hear alarms in our neighbors' homes, but everyone instead covers their head. It is at neighbor's place, I can't go there. Then when the person is dead, or when the violence has happened, that's when you run and say, oh my God, we used to hear this, we used to see this happen. No, you would not have helped. You need to help before the violence happens, whether it's child marriage, whether it is battering in the family, rape, defilement, all forms of violence. Let's report. let's break the silence.
Okay. By the way, talking of breaking the silence and all that, can you expound more about the role of the community, at least in addressing? Because I remember somehow back then, if it is a concern in a home, it is a concern for the whole community. But right now, people have tended to close their spaces. There's no way a neighbor is going to interfere in your space, and they're advising you or telling you something about what is happening in your house. How can the community still engage their fellows?
Yeah, so yes, I know, especially now in the city, we live in enclosed setting, everyone has a wall fence, but that shouldn't take away our responsibility as neighbors, as a community. I live in a bit of out of town, and I've seen now communities have different way of gathering. They have community WhatsApp groups. They have maybe weekly, you sit under, maybe for where I stay, we sit at the church on a Sunday after service and reflect on the issues that are happening in the community.
Wow.
We may not be free to enter someone's home, but there are spaces where we can still break the silence. That if you hear something, put it on that WhatsApp group. And these WhatsApp groups have our local leaders in our communities, have religious leaders, and sometimes have even police.
True.
Even if you're not in a WhatsApp group in your community, there are other social networks you belong in. Raise an alarm in those social networks if you're unable to walk and knock on the neighbor's door. So there are different forms we can use to break the silence. Let's stop hiding under this whole concept of, now people are enclosed, no one wants to interfere in the neighbor's space. No, it will be that day when your place has also been attacked, and everyone will keep quiet. And we say, it's the neighbor, so it may be happening at the neighbor's place, tomorrow it will come to you. So use all social platforms that you're in, as a person or as a community. Organize with your neighbors to ensure that you are watchdogs of one another. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Can we also talk about maybe the role of education in at least seeing off GBV?
Yeah. So if you see the gender-based violence report and how can we prevent violence against women and girls, education is key. It plays a critical role. So we've been pushing for education and economic empowerment as key elements that can really support in ending violence against women. But that does not take away the root causes, which is power. So for education, we know if a girl has gone to school, and we've seen at least girls who have gone past senior 4 and probably senior 6, and compare even with those that at university, you see that the girl has a certain level of empowerment, that she cannot get timid easily, that she cannot be lied by a certain group of people and you fall for that lie. So education gives you a certain point of power, that you're able to stand and say no to wrong things, and you're able to tell the difference between wrong and good. So we encourage that parents should support girls to go to school. We worry that we are still facing the effects of COVID. After that lockdown, we say there are so many girls that dropped out of school, but some of these girls are still willing to go back to school, and they may not go to university, they may not go to secondary, but they are tertiary institutions where they can go and learn a skill. So if the years have gone by and your girl is still home, luckily she's not yet married off, let's find a way of skilling this child. There's a program under Ministry of Gender that is called GROW program. Type into these programs that let government make it intentional to reach these young people. I've been engaging with the Ministry of Education. What programs, for them they stop in school, but we have so many girls who are out school, and they are out of school because of different situations, including COVID. So for me, the call is even those who are not yet, even though they've gone into marriage, and those who are not yet in marriage, we can still have programs to support them, either through building their skills, add a little knowledge on this person, on this woman, to make her better, that she may in future not face certain forms of violence.
Okay. There are some young girls who go through hardships in their homes. You find they come from school in the evening, and then they are the ones supposed to do everything. And in the long run, because some of the people I've interacted with, they say we are training them for the better in the future. Is that a good act?
So I think it goes back to this whole concept of, we want our girls to be like the girls of how my grandmother was. And they cover that in training, but when you're basically doing child labor. So we have to distinguish, when am I teaching my girl and when am I purely making sure that this is child labor. And child labor is also illegal in Uganda. So if I'm teaching a child in my home how to wash utensils, how to clean the house, how to cook, how to serve food, that's okay. But when it comes that it is a time when the child comes from home, when the child comes from school and every little thing is on this child, and the parents are there and other people in the home in the name of teaching, that is wrong. They may not be parent, but most of these cases we see where a child is not living with the father or mother, and that's where we've seen a lot of cases of child abuse. And it's because there are so many issues around. She's not my child, maybe she's a stepchild, and you feel you're teaching this child, but you're basically punishing the child. We have to distinguish, how do I teach, and when do I teach, and when do I make sure that the child has the right to go and enjoy his right, and the child, because children, whereas we have to teach them how to work, but they are still growing. They need to be exposed to other things. They need to be let go to go and play with their other children, and then come back and learn also how to do things in a home. So for me, once we draw those lines between what is child labor and what is child support and teaching a child to do work, then we are able to manage children within our families.
Okay. Help me tell someone else there, mostly those in the local setting, rural setting, about the importance of educating a girl child.
Yes, so the importance of educating a girl child, I am from
addressing
gender-based violence. And I'll use my example. I'm from a family of we are 11. Some have passed on, and my father was now he's retired, I should say, but was a farmer deep in Kanungu, and my mother was equally a farmer. They would hold a hoe and a panga to farm together, and they were able to educate all of us, and that's why I'm here speaking, and that's how I can support my husband. I can't say that now because I am a woman I'm empowered. No, we sit and agree. So in that agreeing, we raise our children better. So if you educate your girl child, then you're adding one on your family value, because you have a girl who is educated. Two, you're adding on the resources for the country. If you look at the human resource now, women, we take a big sector. We take a big sector in contributing to the country resource. So an educated child, and mostly an educated girl child, is an empowered community, is an empowered society. So let's educate our girls. Let them not go to early marriages. Let them not stay home looking after children. Let's educate them. Trust me, you will have an empowered home and empowered country.
Wow.
Thank you.
You've had it there. You'll have an empowered home if you educate that child, most importantly the girl child, and that is how you'll address the gender-based violence issue, specifically on women, since that woman, that girl that you've educated will not be fierce in society. She will be able to go ahead of any challenge because she knows what it is like to face positivity. Anyway, we are continuing with this discussion, and there's a lot to talk about. We had the issues to do with the scenario about HIV. We're also going to go into that because they correlate. Anyway, it is after this short break.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV, enriching lives. This is Church of Uganda Family TV, enriching lives. Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
Yes, we are breaking the cycle for gender-based violence here in the country, and here with me is Immaculate Owomugisha, who is the Executive Director for Center for Women Justice, and she has been taking us through what gender-based violence is like and the state it is like in the country, and some of the causes, but also we have been talking about some of the solutions. Of course, we are still continuing with this discussion. It entirely falls to you, the parent out there, also to you, the men out there, who still think that educating a girl child or empowering the woman is not something that relates to the culture you knew. No, we should shift from that kind of thinking, and then that is how we shall have a very, very, very wonderful nation free from gender-based violence. So I'm going to ask about, we had a challenge, by the way. We lost an athlete, Rebecca Cheptegei, and that is as it was also a result of such that we're discussing about domestic violence, gender-based violence, and that is how she managed to perish and leave this world, and that is the cause, what we're talking about. So you had a press conference recently, and what were some of these things we discussed about, and what can we see, what can we hope for in regards to this, because this has been a big loss. And by the way, not only have we lost her, if we were to look at a number of athletes who have gone from that kind of setting, who have died out of such. It is alarming, like it is not being addressed. So what measures do you think can be put place, or what was the press conference like?
Okay. Yeah, so on Monday, we held as Women of Uganda, under the leadership of Center for Domestic Violence, Uganda Women Network and FIDA Uganda, we held a press conference calling on government, communities, the Ministry of Sports and our counterparts in Kenya to take action. It was very, very sad that we lost Rebecca in the way we lost her. And Rebecca represents a number of many women out there who have died when they should not be dying because of gender-based violence. And for Kenya in particular, we've seen a growing trend of many women who are in sports being killed by their partners, and no much action apart from arresting this person is being taken. So for us, this was a moment for us as Uganda, the fact that Rebecca is a Ugandan, and as Women of Uganda, we said, no, we need to break the silence again. We need to add our call to action. We are always making calls to action, and we are saying that we can end violence against women, and we should end violence against women. And our call was to the government that let's, again, like I said at the start, let's implement some of the laws we have. Let us arrest perpetrators. Let us prosecute them. And let's stop negotiating cases at police and at community level of gender-based violence. For Rebecca's boyfriend, he has also passed on. Yes. But most of the perpetrators don't die. They go, they serve a short sentence, come back to community, get another woman, and the vice goes on and goes on. Even when you look at the sentences that are given to perpetrators or to the people who commit violence against women, I am avoiding to use men because men sounds like every man out there is a bad man. No, the men who are bad out there need to be really punished, and if there are sentences, we should have sentences like life's imprisonment. Go in prison and learn that you cannot live in a community if you continue to violate women. So the press conference was about that. The calls that we made to government, to community, are the same calls that I made in my earlier submission. But importantly, we were asking the Ministry of Sports and the Sports Council, what measures do they have within the sports arena to protect the women in sports? I think it is a silent department that we don't see beyond facilitating women to participate in sports, but in terms of protection. Because you see, for me, a woman, to leave my home and go and be, maybe like now she was in France for 2 weeks, then I come back and the man knows I've earned something. Life can't be the same in the home. So if a woman in sports or a girl in sports detect that in a home, at a council level or in the ministry, do they have like gender desks, for example, where this girl can run to and say that I am experiencing this, I need guidance? You may not go into the home to stop the violence, but you can counsel, you can support, you can refer. So are those measures available? If they are not available, I think it is very important the Ministry of Education and Sports starts to think about that. If it is not the ministry, then the council itself. But let's have measures that protect women and girls in sports, and in terms of supporting them in whatever challenge they may be facing, whether at personal level or within the council itself, within the sports arena itself.
Are there interventions of maybe you planning to meet up with the ministry?
We are thinking about all that. How do we follow up on the actions? So once that actualizes, we will definitely be letting you know. But the fact that I'm on this platform, and thank you Family TV for giving it to us, I will still call out our Mama Janet, who is our minister, and she's a woman, and we know she has very well championed issues of women. I think it is important for her and her team to sit and reflect on what measures they can put in place to support women in sports beyond just facilitating them to do the sports.
Wow. That is interesting. I wish something can be done in that regard. So, talking about gender-based violence, I don't know if it also falls in that, but I feel it does. The government, there is a plan to end HIV prevalence by 2030 here in the country. But previously, we have seen some posts making rounds on social media of a particular group of boys that go to a particular university, which I can be specific, which is Makerere University Business School, MUBS in Nakawa, and then they get these girls, use them, and at the end of that tweet, I can say, at the end of that a post, they say they are HIV positive, and they have been doing this. It is like they are known. They are not bothered at all. So in a sense of HIV/AIDS, I'm looking at a girl who is vulnerable and is given 200K per the time they meet and whatsoever. And also looking at a person who is knowing what they are doing and they even know their status. How can we correlate this and how can we address this? Is it a call to the young ladies out there? Is it also even a call to that group of boys who are doing such, yet they know that they are not fine?
Okay. So that is really, really bad.
Very bad.
And what I should tell people out there, especially those, whether they are boys or men or young men, what they are doing first and foremost, if it is true, it is wrong and it is criminal. Our laws, the Penal Code Act, still has a whole section that says if you are caught spreading infectious disease, and HIV is considered as an infectious disease, then you are arrested, punished. And we also have the HIV Prevention and Control Act that is still in the laws with its own challenges. It is still the law that says if you are caught intentionally or intentional spreading HIV, then you are arrested and again punished. So first thing first, what community needs to know that spreading of HIV is a criminal offense and it calls for punishment. So if the men out there or the young men out there, if they are doing this to the girls by enticing them, by coercing them or forcing them into sex, it is wrong. And especially if you know you're HIV positive. The law is very clear on that. So that is the first point. Second, and that aligns to what we are seeing in terms of data of HIV prevalence being high among the young women, among the young people, but mostly among the young women.
Yes.
And the UNAIDS and Uganda AIDS Commission and Ministry of Health reports, the data indicate that at least we see 70% of the new cases are among the young women. So that should worry us as a country. And the men who are moving around and going on social media and tweeting and celebrating that this is a good thing I'm doing, what you're doing a disservice to yourself. Today you may think you've done it to a certain girl, if it is true that it is happening, but that girl is going to maybe will have sexual intercourse with your brother or you. So the circle will go around and around, and you find it will still reach you as an individual. So we need to stop that. We need to sensitize communities on how to end HIV. We've set this target, the 2030 target is a global target, and the President of Republic of Uganda endorsed that global target and committed that as a country we should have ended HIV by 2030. But if we still have people out there who are doing this and celebrate, then we are not anywhere near to end this virus. But we can still do something. I don't think we've lost all hope. And what we can do, I've been engaging, for example, religious leaders and telling religious leaders what is their role in ending HIV by 2030. And I can say that religious leaders are people who have audience every Sunday, every Saturday for those who pray on Saturday, and every Friday for those who pray on Friday. So if you have that audience, how are you using the platform you have?
Oh, yes.
What messages, after preaching the word of God, what message can you pass on to the young, to the people who are in the church, but also outside church? We always reach out to the religious leaders for different issues. Use the platform to sensitize that HIV is still a big challenge, and right now the message is, we still have our ABC initiative of be faithful, because that's the country initiative. Be faithful, use a condom, and abstain. So abstain and be faithful is the key message for the church. So how can we continue to leverage on that to ensure that we protect the young people? That's one. Two, we know that HIV also, the way communities treat people living with HIV. If I'm stigmatized, if I'm discriminated, if I'm pointed at, then even when I am HIV positive, I may also not have that spirit of saying that, let me protect my neighbor. You get it? So if we support young people to ensure that they live a positive life, and living positive life means that you are not discriminated, you're supported to go to a health facility and take your medication as you're supposed to be taking it, because science right now is telling us that if someone is taking her medication, if someone is not discriminated, is supported, so that the mental health, physical health is okay, then you have less chances of transmitting HIV. The viral load, what is called the viral load, is well suppressed, that you can now be in a relationship, support one another, and you don't transmit HIV to your partner. But that's when the environment is conducive. So beyond telling people that, protect yourself, be faithful, let's also support those who have already acquired the disease to be in a position where they cannot transmit HIV to another person. Again, that is passing on a message of not discriminating people living with HIV, not stigmatizing, but rather supporting them to go and take and access their treatment at different facilities.
Wow. Now, I see time has started chipping in, but let us maybe summarize this with the role of CSOs in addressing the issues of gender-based violence.
So, as civil society, we are advocates. We are advocates, but also we empower communities. So our role at different levels. The first level is to hold government accountable on the policies that we have. We appreciate all the policies that we have, but how can we implement them better? We have that role also of working with the different government actors to ensure that policies are implemented. And policies I'm looking at, for example, police, Office of Director of Public Prosecution and Judiciary, and then the different ministries including health, gender, and public service, among others, being in position to ensure that whether programs, whether criminal justice supports women and girls. That's at accountability level. The second is sensitizing, what I'm doing here, and thank you media for always giving us the platform, sensitizing the community that we are one community, whether a man or a woman. We need to support one another. If we need to end violence, we need to break the silence. We all need to speak out. If we speak out, we are protecting our mothers, we are protecting our girls, but also we are protecting our men and our boy child, who are our counterparts that we can never leave behind. So that the conversation of men engaged in ending violence against women and girls is very critical, and we need to support both gender, whether a man or a woman, because together we can win, together we can end violence, together we can end HIV.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. So let's talk about your organization.
Yes.
Yes. What do you do? What are you centered on?
So we are centered on health and gender for women and girls, I must say, but working with the male partners, our partners.
Okay.
So we do advocacy, but importantly, we provide legal support to survivors of violence. If you're out there and you're challenged on issues of violence and you don't know where to go, we are available to be supported, and you can visit our social media. But also we support those who are facing HIV-related stigma. We've handled cases where young girls are being called out because they are coming out open to empower others to take their medication, but also to tell those who are still negative to make sure that they protect themselves and they don't be turned positive. So if you're out there and you're also using your space to empower others, you're a person living with HIV, but someone is trying to make life difficult for you by stigmatizing you and discriminating you, as lawyers we also come in and support. And then we do sensitization. So yeah, sensitization, advocacy and legal aid is
And
what
where
we
you
do.
found?
We are found at Murago Hill, that is come around Kamwacha there. So we are close to
Very
town
close, yeah.
and central, so a taxi can just take you to near Uganda Museum and we are able to get you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, as we wind up, maybe I had not talked about the men. What is the role of a man in addressing gender-based violence?
The role of the
Because
man
I see
is,
they are contributors to it, but what is their role in ending it?
they have a critical role because when we speak about the conversation of power balance, we are saying that power balance actually is not who is strong, who is not strong. No, it's about how do you relate in your relationship, how do you communicate to one another, how do you share decisions. Do you listen to one another? Who has a voice? Can the voice of each partner be counted? Can decisions be taken together? So if you're a man or a man out there, or a young man or a male gender, whatever, out there, use your power to support one another. Use your power to communicate better. Use your power to listen to your partner. If you do that, then you're able to address certain things that may raise wrangles or quarrels in the home, because you'd have talked about them, you'd have listened to one another. So they play a critical role in ending violence by making sure that both you and your partner are on the same table and you're mutually respecting one another.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very interesting. So as we wind up, please give us your last remarks in regards to this discussion, but also your last message to people about having GBV end in the country, and also your last remarks as a person.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
So what we have to know is that gender-based violence and HIV are a twin. They move hand in hand. If families are not happy, if you beat your wife and in the night crosses to the neighbor, you don't know what happens. If you're a man who, because that's sexual violence, who go and, even a woman, whatever partner, if you go and sleep around because you've disagreed with your partner, that you don't know, it may come up with HIV. So it is a twin pandemic and we need to address them together if we are to end violence, and addressing them together is by making sure that we protect one another, we support one another to make sure to access services, but also as a country and as a community. Again, our message for us from women of Uganda, as women, we are saying break the silence, report cases, support one another, put preventive measures in place by speaking, by listening, and by supporting. Again, I think that has been my song. So that is the message. And for me as a person is that we have people around us, whether it is a religious leader, whether it's your mother, your aunt, your friend, or any other person around you. If you experience violence, or if you see there are indicators out there that things may not be right, whether you're a young woman and a man is coming telling you that I can take you out, and before you know it you're dosed and you're sexually abused. If you see some of those indicators, reach out to your person in your close. It is important to have a closed society where you can run to and report some of these cases, but also seek advice and guidance before things get out of hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. Thank you so much for coming through, Miss Immaculate Owomugisha,
Yes.
and giving us these wonderful insights about gender-based violence and your role, people out there, what you can do to make sure that we have this issue addressed and maybe break the cycle of gender-based violence here in the country, because it has really cost us a lot, and we really can't continue like that. It has to be addressed, and that is by you and me, and also the stakeholders involved in that regard. My name is Luke Majumba Alnaito. I want to appreciate you for joining us here today. We are powered by Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. I want to wish you a lovely day ahead.
Issues at Hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and